I'm really torn on Iowa. The quarterback they brought in was gone all offseason, recovering from surgery. Gronowski, the FCS kid. We saw last year, Bremer at Minnesota also was kind of a similarly profiled FCS award-winning quarterback. And even though he was there, he was great in November, but even though he was there all offseason, it took him about half the year to adjust to playing at this level. So I do wonder about what happens when the quarterback who wasn't able to practice all offseason is just now throwing the football here this summer. You know, what's his learning curve like? Because I don't think they're going to be quite as good on defense. Now, when I say that, I think they're still like a top 25 defense, but we're used to them kind of being top 10, you know? So when we're dealing now with 18 teams that are all able to pay players now, those to me are the mitigating factors and the margins that you are looking for. All right, who you don't have to play, and then also though those sorts of X factors that kind of just get lost in just your basic starters returning, starters lost, and who'd you lose to the portal and who do you have coming back.
I can't push back on too much, Steve, considering I picked Illinois 5-4 in the conference, and so I'm right there with you. And then
I'm going to pick them 6-3, but Duke is a team I am very high on. My numbers are very high on Duke. Duke has a very favorable schedule. They will be one of my win total best bets here in a couple days. And they play a road game there early in the season.
Exactly.
And what's interesting about this Duke team, by the way, is it's where they're very good. I think it's possible next to Clemson, they have the second best defensive line. Maybe next to Clemson and Miami, the best defensive line in the ACC, right? So it's not, a fluky offense with the old coach, David Cutcliffe. I mean, this is a strong trench team now.
And the variance on USC is almost built into the program based on who Lincoln Riley is, what USC is when they're not John McKay, Pete Carroll, John Robinson, right. That the way they acquire great talent in certain areas and spots, then we go out and we see them take Penn State to double overtime. They beat Texas A&M, they beat LSU, but then they mess around with Maryland and Minnesota and lose these games. And I think that's going to continue to a certain extent.
Until you see otherwise, I don't know how you could think otherwise. But if it doesn't, if there is a level of consistency found there, then because I don't think we're necessarily dealing with personnel now. I don't think their roster overall is as strong as Penn State, Ohio State's, Michigan's, or Oregon's. But I also don't think it's that far off again. Similar to what we were just saying a minute ago about I think Alabama has the most complete roster according to my ratings, but it's not Saban Alabama, where it's so clear their roster is better than everybody else. So a key injury here or there. And I could see USC even, in fact, to me, I'd only bet two teams to win the Big Ten, looking at the odds. I bet Michigan when it was 8-1. I don't know what it is now. And USC. To me, those are the only two teams where the odds are valued enough and the roster has enough upside that it's realistic to get a return there, a nice return on a bet.
And I think with Iowa, their defense was loaded going into last season with proven production, future NFL players, all of that. And they disappointed. They were still really good on defense, but not by their standards. And I think some of that might be the byproduct of just one or two games being more difficult than what they faced versus the Western Division. And they're going to see that. They got to go to USC and see that offense this year. They're just a couple. They got Oregon this year. They didn't see those kind of teams.
I mean, look at the game they played against Iowa State last year. All right. 10 times out of 10, Iowa's beating Iowa State if it's 19-17, if that's the score, okay? But this was a different constructed Iowa State team in that at the end of the game, down 17-16, they had NFL second-day draft pick receivers they could throw the ball up to and make massive gains. Iowa State didn't have players like that before, right? That's, again, the kinds of margins that you need to be looking at now because the talent is more spread out amongst the top teams than I think it ever has been.